Hi everyone, today, I want to share a story that might remind you of yourself, or someone you know. A story about dreams, excuses, comfort, and the moment everything changes. It's the story of a young blacksmith who lived an ordinary life, until he discovered the simple truth that transformed everything. This isn't just a fantasy tale. It's a mirror, a reminder that real change begins with one small step. So sit back, relax, and let's begin. Once upon a time, in a peaceful little village surrounded by quiet green hills and sparkling rivers, there lived a young blacksmith named Mason. Everyone in the village admired him. He was strong, talented, and incredibly skilled with his tools. People often said that Mason had the potential to craft the finest blades and tools in the entire region. But Mason had a problem. Not a lack of talent, not a lack of potential, but a lack of action. Every morning, Mason would wake up slowly, sip his tea, and watch the soft clouds drift across the sky. He often told himself, "Tomorrow. I'll start tomorrow." And tomorrow never came. His workshop was filled with half-finished tools, piles of shining iron, and projects waiting for attention. Farmers needed plows. Guards needed blades. Villagers needed repairs. Everything was ready, except Mason. He dreamed of greatness. Dreamed of applause? Dreamed of becoming someone important. But dreams without action are nothing more than shadows. Weeks passed, and the village grew frustrated. Farmers struggled because their tools were late. Guards complained about missing equipment. Even children whispered, "Why doesn't Mason finish his work?" Mason felt embarrassed, but the comfort of doing nothing always won. He kept telling himself he wasn't ready. But one morning, everything changed. Mason's best friend, Owen, came to see him. Owen was a hard-working farmer, always up before sunrise, always doing his best to support his family. "Mason," he said gently, "you're talented. But talent isn't enough. You keep waiting for the right moment, but that moment may never come." Mason shrugged. "I'll work when I feel like it," he said. Owen looked disappointed. "You're wasting your gift," he replied. "One day you'll regret it. Dreams need action." Those words stayed with Mason long after Owen left. The following week, the village chief visited Mason's workshop. His tone was firm but not unkind. "Mason," he said, "your delays are hurting our village. People are waiting. If this continues, you may lose your place here." Mason felt his heart sink. For the first time, reality hit him. He couldn't keep living on dreams. That night, he sat in the quiet workshop, staring at a half-forged blade. The moonlight reflected on the metal, and he whispered to himself, "I want to be great. But why can't I make myself start?" Deep inside, he knew the answer. Comfort was easier than effort. Dreaming was easier than working. But no one becomes great by staying comfortable. The next morning, a stranger arrived in the village. An older blacksmith named Harold, known across many regions for his skill and wisdom. Harold had heard about Mason's potential and wanted to see it for himself. He entered the workshop, looked around, and said, "Mason, you have talent. Real talent. But talent alone won't take you anywhere. Do you know the secret to becoming great?" Mason shook his head. Harold smiled. "The secret is discipline. The ability to take action even when you don't feel like it. Discipline is like iron. You must shape it every day." He continued, "Start small. 5 minutes. Then 10. Then more. Show up every day. Motivation will fade, but action will push you forward." Those words hit Mason harder than anything he'd heard before. That very day, Mason decided to try. He picked up his hammer. His arms felt heavy. His back ached. He was tired, unmotivated, uncomfortable. But for the first time, he pushed through it. 5 minutes, then 10, then 30. By sunset, he had finished one small plow. He felt something he hadn't felt in a long time, pride. Not in the result, but in the effort. The next day was even harder. He wanted to rest. He wanted to give up. He wanted to return to his old habits. But a quiet voice inside whispered, "Today, I show up. No matter how I feel." And so he worked again. Slowly, steadily, imperfectly, but consistently. Days turned into weeks. He saw small victories. A blade polished brighter than he expected. A farmer smiling in gratitude. Children cheering when they saw him working. For the first time, Mason felt like he belonged. His momentum grew, his confidence grew, his discipline grew. Months passed, and Mason completely transformed. His workshop was no longer filled with unfinished projects. Instead, it shined with completed tools, sturdy plows, polished blades, and proud craftsmanship. Villagers came from nearby towns just to place orders. People admired his work, respected him, and trusted him. The young man who once wasted his mornings had become the most reliable craftsman in the village. One evening, Harold returned. "Look at what you've built," he said. "Do you see the difference?" Mason nodded with a smile. "Yes. It wasn't easy. Some days I wanted to quit. Some days I hated the effort. But I kept going. I pushed myself. And now, I feel alive." Harold placed a hand on his shoulder. "That is the power of showing up. Not when you feel motivated, but when you don't. Discipline turns dreams into reality." Mason's transformation became a message that spread far beyond the village. People told his story for years to come, reminding everyone that you don't need to wait for the perfect moment. You just need to take one small step. You don't need motivation every day. You need consistency. Action builds momentum. Momentum builds discipline. And discipline builds a life worth living. Mason learned that he wasn't weak. He wasn't incapable. He just needed to start, even when it was hard. So if you've been waiting for the right time to change your life, if you've been putting off your dreams, if you've been repeating the same day over and over again, let this story be your reminder. Greatness isn't found in comfort. It's found in action. Start today. Start small. Show up, no matter how you feel. And the rest will follow. If you enjoyed this story or found it inspiring, make sure to like the video, subscribe for more content, and share it with someone who needs to hear it today.